In the beginning, the world was vast and filled with mysteries untold. Mount Olympus stood tall, a home to the gods of ancient myth. Among them was Athena, radiant and wise, a goddess unlike any other. She was not known for brute strength, nor for storms or fire. Her power lived in the realm of thought, vision, and timeless clarity. Mortals prayed to her not for conquest, but for guidance and light. She gave them tools of reason, patience, and the art of strategy. From her mind flowed knowledge, like rivers that never ran dry. She was the guardian of cities, the spirit of invention and hope. Athena shaped the destinies of heroes through her calm wisdom. She stood beside them in silence, speaking through symbols and dreams. She offered no sword, but a path to outwit shadow and fear. Every story told of her is a story of courage with thought. Every hero guided by her hand learned strength beyond muscle. Tonight, we begin their stories, woven like threads upon a loom. Stories of Perseus, Jason, Odysseus, and more. Stories where wisdom becomes the truest gift of all. And at the heart of them all stands Athena, eternal and wise. Long ago, when the sky was young, the gods of Olympus ruled with power and mystery. Among them was Zeus, the thunderer, whose mind held secrets and storms. He carried within him a strange weight, a pain no healer could cure. For inside his very being, a new force of wisdom was waiting to be born. The other gods watched with silence, unsure of what fate would unfold. Thunder rolled across the heavens as Zeus grasped his head in agony. Yet from this struggle, something wondrous was destined to rise. With a cry of power, Zeus released what had been hidden within. And there she stood, radiant and whole, Athena, goddess of wisdom. She was born fully grown, armored with light, and crowned with clarity. No infant cries, no helpless beginning, only brilliance and strength. Her eyes shone with truth, steady as the stars above the earth. The gods gazed in awe, for never before had such a birth been seen. From the mind of Zeus came not fury, but wisdom, pure and eternal. Athena took her first steps, not as a child, but as a leader. Every gesture carried grace, every word carried the weight of thought. She was a goddess who would not shout, but guide with quiet power. Her presence calmed storms, for reason settled what rage could not. Where others sought might, she sought understanding and foresight. The heavens resounded with her name, Athena, the bringer of wisdom. Mortals would one day call her protector, guardian, and teacher. Her birth was not just the rise of a goddess, but a promise that wisdom would always stand beside courage in the world. For in every city, in every mind, her spirit would dwell unseen. She became the torch of knowledge, the shield of reason, the voice of clarity. From that day on, Olympus was never the same. A new light had entered, steady and enduring, unshaken by time. Athena's story had begun, a tale that would weave through countless lives. And so, her first chapter was written, not in battle, but in brilliance. The goddess of wisdom had stepped into the world, eternal and divine. Her journey with heroes, mortals, and dreamers was waiting to unfold. And it began with her birth, a birth unlike any other. A birth not of flesh and pain, but of thought and light. Athena, born of mind, born of vision, born of endless wisdom. Far across the ancient land stood a city yet unnamed, waiting for its protector. The people prayed to the gods, seeking guidance for their home and their lives. Two mighty deities heard their call, Poseidon the sea lord and Athena the wise. Poseidon rose with his trident, proud and powerful, waves echoing his claim. He promised the city strength, dominion over seas, and glory upon waters. With a strike of his trident, a spring burst forth, clear and dazzling. The people marveled at the power, yet the water tasted of salt. It spoke of oceans vast, but also of storms and restless tides. Then came Athena, calm, thoughtful, her eyes bright with quiet certainty. She did not boast or roar, but carried a small seed in hand. She pressed it gently into the soil, and from it grew a tree. The olive tree rose tall, leaves shimmering silver under the sun. Its roots promised endurance, its fruit offered nourishment and oil. The people touched its branches and felt peace flow into their hearts. This gift was not fleeting power, but lasting prosperity and life. The city saw wisdom in her choice, a gift that endured time. They turned to Athena, thanking her for hope and abundance. She became the guardian of their city, a beacon of reason. From that day forward, the city bore her name, Athens. It was a city built not on conquest, but on vision and wisdom. The olive tree stood in its heart, a reminder of her promise. It became symbol of peace, trade, and the bond between gods and mortals. Poseidon withdrew to his seas, his waves rolling with restless pride. Yet Athena remained, her spirit woven into the stones of the city. She watched over philosophers, artists, and dreamers as they shaped its soul. The Parthenon would one day rise, a temple of marble and thought. But even before stone was laid, her presence was already there. She gave the Athenians courage not in war, but in knowledge. She taught them the value of balance, harmony, and patient growth. Athens thrived under her light, a city of wisdom and creation. Ships sailed, markets flourished, and minds sought truth in open forums. Every olive branch carried the story of a goddess who chose peace. Every stone path whispered her name, Athena, the eternal protector. The contest was more than a struggle of gifts. It was a choice. It showed that lasting greatness comes not from might, but from vision. And in the quiet rustle of olive leaves, her voice still lingers. It speaks of calm strength, enduring hope, and wisdom's gentle hand. Thus was born Athens, not only a city, but an idea eternal. An idea that knowledge and peace can shape a brighter tomorrow. And at its heart stands Athena, guardian, teacher, and eternal light. Perseus was a young man, with a destiny larger than his own dreams. The king demanded he bring back the head of Medusa, a task many feared. Medusa was a creature cursed, her gaze turning the boldest hearts to stone. Perseus felt the weight of fear, yet also the fire of determination. The gods watched from Olympus, debating his fate with quiet voices. Athena, calm and wise, saw his courage and chose to guide him. She did not descend with thunder or flash, but with gentle presence. Her gift was not brute force, but wisdom woven into a shield. She placed in his hands a polished bronze, shining like a mirror. "Do not look at the monster directly," she whispered. "See through reflection." Her words were simple, yet filled with power that reached beyond fear. Perseus bowed with gratitude, knowing the shield was more than metal. It was knowledge, clarity, a path to survive where strength alone failed. Athena's guidance became a light in the shadows of his journey. She taught him that cleverness and calm could silence even terror. With Hermes, he gained wings for his feet, but Athena gave vision. Together, the gifts shaped him into more than a hero, into a thinker. On the long road, he remembered her words like steady stars above. The shield was not only a weapon, but a teacher in disguise. When fear rose within, he lifted it, seeing not darkness, but clarity. It reminded him to step carefully, to act with patience and control. Every moment drew him closer to the test that would shape his fate. Athena did not fight for him. She allowed him to discover himself. Her wisdom was not a crutch, but a compass pointing toward survival. Through deserts, forests, and seas, Perseus carried her counsel like fire. He learned that the mind could be stronger than any sharpened blade. Athena's shield reflected more than monsters. It reflected his own courage. When the hour came, he remembered her voice in the silence of fear. He raised the shield, trusting in her gift, trusting in himself. And in that trust, he found victory not by chance, but by wisdom. The tale spread through lands, sung by poets and whispered by travelers. They spoke of Perseus, but also of Athena, the unseen guide. For behind every step of his journey was her steady hand. She had shown him that even in the face of darkness, thought prevails. Perseus returned not only with triumph, but with a new kind of strength. He was no longer a boy chasing glory, but a man shaped by wisdom. And always beside him, though unseen, was Athena, radiant and eternal. Her lesson lived on. Bravery is nothing without the light of the mind. Thus, the story of Perseus became more than conquest. It became a teaching. A teaching that knowledge, patience, and clarity are the truest weapons. And in every retelling, Athena's name shines as the goddess of wisdom. Jason was a man chosen by fate, called to a quest unlike any other. The Golden Fleece was his goal, a prize guarded far across the sea. It was said to bring prosperity, a symbol of hope for a broken throne. Yet no single man could reach it, for the path was long and perilous. Jason gathered companions, men of courage and skill, and they became Argonauts. They built a ship, the Argo, strong as oak and blessed by gods. Its prow carried the voice of prophecy, whispering guidance in the wind. But even with heroes and oaths, the voyage demanded more than courage. The seas were vast, and dangers hid in shadows, testing heart and mind. Athena watched from Olympus, her gaze steady upon the Argo. She knew bravery alone would falter without the lantern of wisdom. And so she gave silent counsel, weaving clarity into their journey. When storms rose, it was her light that guided Jason to safety. When doubts filled the crew, her unseen hand restored unity and trust. She inspired them to work as one, each strength balanced by another. The voyage became not only a test of strength, but of harmony. Through her influence, the heroes learned patience where anger might divide. They solved riddles, charted stars, and built bridges across fear. Jason himself felt her presence like calm air before a storm. He remembered to think before acting, to listen before speaking. Each choice he made carried Athena's quiet wisdom, though he never saw her. At the cliffs where rocks clashed, the Argonauts trembled at certain doom. But Athena's guidance gave them courage to time their passage with care. The ship sailed through unharmed, and the crew praised the gods above. Jason knew in his heart that wisdom had saved them more than strength. Her gift was subtle, yet it carried them across impossible seas. She reminded them that even the strongest oars falter without direction. Athena's hand was not forceful, but it shaped the voyage like a loom. Each thread of courage woven with reason became their true strength. The Golden Fleece was still far, yet Jason felt prepared for trials, for he understood that leadership was not command, but unity. It was not the roar of one voice, but the chorus of many. And behind it all was Athena, who taught them balance and foresight. The story of the Argo is not only about sails and swords. It is about wisdom guiding heroes across the unknown, unseen but enduring. When the Argonauts sang songs at night, they praised more than fate. They honored the goddess whose wisdom steadied their hands and hearts. Jason's journey became a lesson that courage without reason is fragile. But courage with wisdom becomes the map to triumph and survival. Thus, Athena's presence in the voyage of Jason lives on in legend, not as thunder, not as battle, but as the quiet voice of clarity. And in every retelling, the Argo sails once more under her watchful eyes. Bellerophon was a mortal of courage, yet his path was tangled with uncertainty. He longed to tame Pegasus, the winged horse born from the breath of gods. The creature soared above mountains, swift as wind, untamed and free as light. Many men had tried to capture Pegasus, but all had failed in despair. Strength alone could not bind wings that belonged to the heavens. Bellerophon prayed for guidance, lifting his voice to Olympus with hope. Athena, ever watchful, heard his plea and came to his aid. She appeared not in thunder, but in a quiet dream of dawn. Her presence was calm, her words soft as flowing water in night. She handed him a golden bridle, glowing with divine grace and promise. "This gift is not of power alone," she whispered, "but of trust." Bellerophon awoke with the bridle in hand, shining like morning light. He sought Pegasus again, climbing to the high meadows of the earth. The horse stood proud, wings spread like silver clouds against the sky. Fear stirred in his chest, but Athena's voice echoed in his mind. He moved slowly, not with force, but with patience and respect. Pegasus trembled, yet did not flee, sensing something different in the man. Bellerophon raised the bridle gently, his hands steady, his heart calm. The divine rein slipped over Pegasus with grace, a bond sealed in silence. In that moment, man and horse became one, not through power, but trust. Pegasus lifted him into the sky, the world falling away beneath them. Mountains bowed below, rivers shimmered like threads of glass in sunlight. The wind roared past his face, yet his spirit soared with peace. Athena's guidance had shown him that mastery begins with harmony. He learned that the greatest victories are not of conquest, but of unity. Pegasus carried him across skies, through clouds, into realms of wonder. The people marveled at the sight, a man riding the steed of gods. But only Bellerophon knew the truth, that Athena's wisdom made it possible. Her golden bridle was more than metal. It was understanding made visible. It was a reminder that respect opens doors, power cannot force. Bellerophon's name spread, yet he never forgot the goddess of wisdom, for she had taught him that true strength is found in balance. Balance between courage and humility, between ambition and patience. Pegasus became his companion, not his servant, bound by shared trust. Together they touched the skies, symbols of harmony between mortal and divine. Athena watched, her gaze serene, pleased with the choice he had made. She knew that every hero guided by wisdom carried her spirit forward. Bellerophon's tale became a story not of taming, but of learning. It was the lesson that greatness lies not in domination, but in respect. And so his bond with Pegasus shone as a beacon through ages. A tale where Athena's quiet gift became the key to the skies, and where wisdom proved once again stronger than any force of might. Perseus was born with destiny, though he did not yet know its weight. The gods had chosen him for a task that would test both courage and mind. His journey was not to be one of war, but of cleverness and resolve. For Perseus was fated to seek Medusa, whose gaze could turn men to stone. Many feared her, for her face was a mask of terror and silence. But Athena saw beyond fear, and she guided him with steady wisdom. She came to him in a dream, her armor gleaming like dawn. In her hand, she carried a polished shield, brighter than any mirror. "This will be your eyes," she said, "for wisdom sees without direct sight." Perseus awoke with the shield beside him, a gift of divine design. He held it close, knowing Athena had placed her faith in him. On his journey, he faced trials not of swords, but of choices. At a crossroads, he found paths that twisted with uncertainty and shadows. He listened to Athena's voice, reminding him to trust patience over haste. He chose the longer way, guided by calm rather than fear. That path brought him to allies, people who offered kindness and aid. He learned that no hero walks alone, and that wisdom builds bridges. Athena's shield became more than protection. It was a lesson in reflection. It taught him to look not only at enemies, but also at himself. Each time he raised it, he remembered her words of foresight and care. When he reached the lair of Medusa, silence pressed like a heavy cloak. Perseus did not tremble, for he carried the clarity Athena had given. He approached with the shield raised, its surface capturing truth without danger. Medusa's image appeared upon it, fierce and yet distant as shadow. With calm resolve, he acted not from rage, but from precision. Athena's wisdom steadied his hand, keeping fear from clouding his sight. And when the task was done, he did not boast nor cry for glory. Instead, he bowed his head, knowing victory belonged as much to wisdom. Perseus carried Medusa's head not as a trophy, but as a burden. Athena took it from him and set it upon her shield, the aegis. There it became a symbol, not of horror, but of power tempered by reason. Perseus learned that true triumph is not loud, but quiet and steady. He returned to his people, not as a conqueror, but as a protector. Athena watched with pride, for he had embodied her gift fully. He had shown that wisdom could guide even the most perilous of paths. The story of Perseus is remembered not for blood, but for clarity. It is a tale where a mortal's strength was balanced by divine thought, where courage was sharpened not by anger, but by calm determination, and where Athena's wisdom shone brighter than any blade in darkness. Through Perseus, her voice echoed through ages as a reminder of foresight, that no challenge is unconquerable when guided by patience and reflection, and that the shield of wisdom protects longer than any sword of bronze. Theseus was a prince of Athens, but his heart belonged not to palaces, but to justice. He grew up hearing stories of heroes who shaped the world with courage and wit. Yet Athena had chosen him not for his birth, but for his spirit of fairness. His greatest challenge lay within the twisting halls of the labyrinth. At its heart lived the Minotaur, a creature feared, but more a symbol of despair. The labyrinth devoured hope, swallowing those sent inside, never to return again. Athena watched Theseus as he prepared, carrying not pride but determination. She saw in him a mind willing to think before leaping into danger. Through the voice of wisdom, she guided him toward patience and clarity. When he met Ariadne, daughter of the king, Athena stirred his mind to listen. For wisdom often comes not from oneself, but from others who care. Ariadne gave him a thread, simple yet powerful, a guide through darkness. Theseus understood at once. True strength is sharpened by humble tools. He entered the labyrinth, shadows closing around him like endless night. But with each step, he followed the thread, steady and calm. Athena's presence whispered in his mind, "Clarity will light what darkness hides." He faced the Minotaur not with rage, but with measured courage. The creature was strong, but Theseus relied on reason more than force. Each move was chosen with care, each decision weighed with foresight. When the trial was done, he did not see victory as conquest. He saw it as freedom for those who had long lived in fear. With Ariadne's thread, he retraced his path, the labyrinth no longer a prison. He emerged into daylight, carrying not triumph, but a lesson of balance. Athena smiled from Olympus, knowing her wisdom had guided each step. She had taught him that cleverness is the key to unlocking cages, that even the most impossible of mazes can be solved with patience, and that the greatest battles are not against beasts, but against despair. Theseus became a symbol not of brute strength, but of thoughtful leadership. He showed Athens that wisdom leads to victories lasting longer than force. His people praised him, but he remembered the thread and the goddess. For they reminded him that no hero walks forward by strength alone. He ruled not as a conqueror, but as a guide to justice. His choices reflected Athena's gift, clarity in moments clouded by pride. He listened, he thought, and he built trust where fear once lingered. The labyrinth became a story passed from parent to child, not just of a beast defeated, but of a path found through wisdom. Athena's voice echoed in the tale, subtle yet eternal, for she had turned Theseus's journey into a lesson for generations, that courage and cleverness walk hand in hand when guided by wisdom, and that every maze in life can be faced with patience and trust. Through Theseus, the world saw once more the quiet strength of Athena. Her wisdom, like the thread of Ariadne, still guides us through our own labyrinth. Odysseus was a man of many paths, known not for strength, but for cunning. His name carried tales of quick wit and silver words sharper than steel. But the journey that defined him was not of conquest, but of return. He longed for Ithaca, his home, his wife, and his quiet hearth. The sea stretched endless before him, filled with trials both seen and unseen. Athena, guardian of wisdom, took him as her favored mortal, for she knew his heart sought not power, but the way back to love. She walked beside him unseen, guiding his thoughts with clarity and foresight. When storms rose, she whispered calm into his restless mind. When doubts consumed him, she lit sparks of courage in his chest. Odysseus faced the sirens, voices sweet as honey, yet sharp with danger. Others would have fallen, but Athena stirred his mind to preparation. He filled his men's ears with wax and bound himself to the mast. He listened to the song, but it could not break his reason. It was Athena who reminded him that wisdom silences temptation's call. Later, he came to Circe's isle, where enchantments clouded judgment. But Athena's gift of discernment kept him wary and awake. He learned that cleverness is not trickery alone, but clarity in disguise. Each trial he faced became a lesson in balance between mind and heart. When he met the Cyclops, he could not win with sword or spear. Instead, he used words, weaving a name as shield and weapon. No man, he called himself, a trick that unraveled the giant's fury. Athena watched, her pride quiet, for his wit was her reflection. She knew that his strength was not in arms, but in his restless mind. Years passed, and the sea carried him farther from what he loved. Yet Athena never abandoned him, though fate twisted his course endlessly. At last, when he reached Ithaca, she cloaked him in disguise. For wisdom teaches that patience often secures what haste will shatter. Odysseus walked among his people, unseen, listening, learning, waiting. Only then did Athena reveal her light, guiding him to truth. She gave him strength, but more than that, she gave him clarity. He reclaimed his place not with arrogance, but with justice. His home was restored, not by force alone, but by careful thought. Athena smiled, for Odysseus had carried her wisdom across every shore. He had proven that cleverness is not trickery, but survival with grace. That the sharpest weapon is not the sword, but the mind that wields it. The tale of Odysseus became a song of patience and foresight, a story where wisdom lit the path through endless storms and trials, and where Athena's unseen hand turned despair into steady endurance. His name lives as a reminder that cunning is not deceit, but clarity. That no distance, no storm, no temptation can break the wise heart. And that home is found not only with feet, but with foresight. Through Odysseus, the world saw once more Athena's eternal gift, her wisdom, quiet and enduring, stronger than the sea itself. Hercules was a name known across the world, a hero of unmatched strength. His deeds echoed in song, yet strength alone did not shape his legend. Athena, goddess of wisdom, walked quietly at his side through every trial. For his greatest battles were not with monsters, but with his own heart. The labors he faced were meant to test body and spirit alike. One task brought him to the garden of the Hesperides, far in the west. There lay the golden apples, treasures of the gods, guarded by mystery. Hercules might have rushed, using force to break through walls and chains. But Athena whispered to him that patience was sharper than any blade. She guided him to seek counsel, to listen before he acted. He learned of Atlas, the Titan who held the sky upon his shoulders. With care, he approached not as enemy, but as one in need. Atlas agreed to help if Hercules would bear the sky for a time. Hercules accepted, steady beneath the crushing weight of the heavens. Athena's wisdom filled his mind, reminding him that trust requires balance. Atlas brought the apples, shining like sunlight, but tried to keep them. Hercules, remembering Athena's lesson, did not answer with fury. Instead, he used wit, asking Atlas to take the sky back briefly. The Titan agreed, and Hercules departed with the apples in hand. His triumph was not of muscle, but of foresight and clever resolve. Athena smiled, for he had shown wisdom alongside his strength. Through her guidance, Hercules learned that even giants can be outmatched by thought. Another labor led him to cleanse the stables of Augeas, a task endless. The filth of years seemed impossible, and brute force would not suffice. Athena whispered again, turning his eyes to the rivers nearby. With clarity, he diverted their flow, and the task was complete in a day. It was not power that solved the challenge, but insight and vision. Athena's presence shaped him into more than a man of might. She reminded him that heroes are remembered not just for strength. They are honored for choices that balance courage with wisdom. Hercules began to see his labors not as punishment, but as lessons. Each trial carried the hand of Athena, guiding him to reflection. When he grew weary, her calm steadied his restless soul. When he felt pride, her counsel reminded him of humility. The world saw him as strength unyielding, but he knew the truth, that without wisdom, his power would crumble like stone in rain. His story became one of balance, where muscle bowed to reason. Athena's guidance did not silence his might, but gave it direction. Through her, Hercules became not just a warrior, but a guardian, a man who carried not only burdens of flesh, but lessons of mind. His name lives on not only for the weight he lifted, but for the wisdom he carried, the gift Athena wove into his path. And in every retelling, his labors shine as proof of her quiet hand. That even the strongest hero needs the light of wisdom to endure. The heroes of Olympus gathered under skies painted with fading light. Their journeys had been many, their trials vast and full of wonder. Yet in every story, Athena's presence had shaped the path ahead. She had been more than a goddess. She was guide and teacher. Odysseus, known for cunning, recalled the whispers that saved his voyage. Perseus, the slayer of monsters, remembered her shield of mirrored truth. Jason, the seeker of the Golden Fleece, honored her for unseen counsel. Heracles, mighty in strength, cherished the wisdom that balanced his heart. Each hero stood not as a shadow of war, but as a beacon. Their names shone in tales where wisdom walked with courage side by side. Athena looked upon them, not with distance, but with quiet pride. She saw in their lives the power of thought, guiding action with care. The world often praised the sword, yet it was wisdom that endured. Athena knew that victories won by mind lasted longer than brute force. Her gift was not power alone, but clarity, patience, and reason. And through her gift, Olympus had birthed a legacy of balanced heroes. The mortals told stories not just of battles, but of choices. Choices that showed mercy. Choices that turned enemies into friends. Stories where strength was tempered by humility and pride by reflection. The heroes of Olympus carried these lessons beyond their own lives, into the hearts of mortals, into songs sung by poets by firelight. Athena's wisdom became a quiet thread woven through time itself. Even in ages when gods were forgotten, her lessons remained. In libraries, in council, in every act where thought preceded action. The world remembered her through the deeds of those she guided. And so, her presence never faded, not in heaven nor on earth. The heroes spoke softly, voices warm with gratitude and awe. They knew that without her, their names might have been lost. For glory fades, but wisdom is retold, a flame that never dies. Athena raised her gaze to the horizon, where stars began to bloom. Each star was a memory, a story, a spark of learning. The constellations whispered of voyages, quests, and the choices within. And mortals, looking upward, found courage to walk their own paths. The heroes dispersed, but their bonds remained eternal as the sky. Athena's watchful eyes followed, gentle as moonlight upon still water. She knew new heroes would rise, and wisdom must guide them too. Her role was endless, her voice a companion to dreamers and seekers. In every challenge faced by mortals, her spirit lingered close, not as a command, but as a whisper that urged reflection. To pause, to think, to choose with heart and mind united. This was her true gift, the light that outlasted every temple. And so, the tale of Athena and the heroes closed with grace. This reminder that in every age, wisdom is the truest form of courage. The tale of Athena and the heroes draws now to its gentle close. For every beginning must find its end, as day yields to quiet night. The voices of heroes linger like echoes upon the wind of Olympus. Their journey spoke not only of battles, but of wisdom gained in silence. Athena stood apart, yet never distant, her gaze steady as the stars. She had not fought their battles, but shaped the choices that defined them. Her counsel was never thunder, but a whisper, guiding step by step. The heroes lived, erred, and learned, and in their lessons her spirit shone. Odysseus' cleverness, Perseus' courage, Jason's resolve, Heracles' balance. Each bore her mark. Together, they formed a chorus of lives touched by her gentle hand. And from those lives came stories, stories told by poets at firelight. Stories carried across seas, etched upon stone, sung beneath vast skies. Each story reminded mortals that wisdom and courage must walk as one. Strength alone can move mountains, but wisdom shows where mountains should fall. Pride alone can claim victories, but humility turns them into lasting legacies. Athena taught not the art of winning, but the art of understanding. For true greatness lies not in conquest, but in the choices we make. The gods may fade from memory, their temples turn to dust and stone, yet the lessons of wisdom endure, woven into the fabric of time, in libraries, in councils, in every heart that seeks truth before power. Athena's presence lingers in silence, urging mortals to pause and reflect, to look not only outward, but inward, and weigh the path they tread. For every age holds its own heroes, though not all wield a sword. Some fight with words, with ideas, with compassion that changes the world. Athena walks beside them too, unseen but steady in her grace. And so her story never ends, for wisdom is eternal as the stars. The heroes of Olympus pass into legend, but their light does not fade. It shines in each decision where courage and thought stand side by side. Athena's voice remains a compass, a calm wind guiding restless souls. She is the reminder that power without wisdom crumbles like sand. But wisdom with courage builds bridges across even the darkest waters. Her tale is not of gods commanding, but of mortals choosing well. Not of thunder and flame, but of whispers that shape destiny. The story of Athena and the heroes is a gift across ages. It reminds us that every life is a journey, every choice a trial, and that within each of us lies the spark of Olympus's flame. The spark to listen, to learn, to balance thought with daring heart. So as the tale ends, let us carry her voice within our own, not as myth alone, but as guidance for the roads we walk today. For Athena's wisdom is not bound to Olympus, but lives where we choose. And in choosing well, we become heroes of our own time. The story closes, but its echo endures, as quiet and timeless as the stars.